Okay, say what you just said to me again.
I said I have another revelation for you. Please feel free to cut the cord.
What?
I love my wife. Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you, my friends, have the information you need to be able to watch what you want, when you want, where you want it, on whatever device you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and I'm slack-jawed with amazement because that looked like a highly realistic simulation of your wife giving you permission, you, the last holdout after 4 years of doing this show, you're gonna do it?
Yeah. So Sunday morning, drinking our coffee, Eileen says to me, hey, I've had another revelation. I'm expecting, career-oriented or vacation or something. She's like, go ahead and cut the cord. And I stood up. I literally gasped. I walked into the other room and grabbed my phone. And she's like, oh, you want to record that? I'm like, oh, yes, I do. And she said, hold on. She goes into the bathroom, puts on her robe, checks her hair, makes sure we don't have any incriminating, paperwork sitting out on the table. And then, of course, that is what you saw. Now, there is a caveat on this, Brian.
Go on.
I am going to Detroit for a week to shoot Connected Tech, the formerly secret project that I've been working on. And so she's like, don't cancel it until after you get back. So I have to wait until the end of August.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'd actually, let's draw this out. I smell a miniseries when I see one, I mean, it's like, come on, man, wait, I want to get the process of cancellation. I want you to, in fact, that should be like a patron bonus, is a recording of you cutting the cord. Because we could take like house bets on whether or not they're cool with it or not cool with it. Because you have DirecTV that is typically pretty cool with stuff, right?
Except they just got taken over by AT&T,
but
and
AT&T,
there's full court press from AT&T to get you to not only keep DirecTV but add AT&T mobile services.
Yes, but also we in the last few months have seen me sign up for and ditch AT&T cable, and they were totally cool during the entire process.
Right, because they're like, we're buying DirecTV, we don't care.
Yeah. we're rolling in them AT&T doughs.
The other problem is that I have 9 months of a 2-year contract with DirecTV left from the last time I got a cable box from them, or not a cable box, but DVR box.
Sure.
I didn't want to buy it, so I gambled and said, give it to me free. I bet I keep it long enough to make it worth. So I'm not sure what the early termination fee is going to be.
Well, I also bet that's this is going to be so fascinating. This is a pay-per-view event. 2 mega giants of the industry, Tom Merritt, AT&T. How will it go down? I'm so going to watch this.
One mega giant of the industry and a guy go head to head.
Dude, okay, well, congratulations. I'm very, very excited that you're off your leash, and I would encourage everyone at home to ask their significant other if it's worth it, and here's the phrase, just say, hey, you want to try on? Don't say we're going to cut the cord. That makes people scared. Say, hey, you want to try? You want to try on for size, not having cable, see what happens?
Totally what I did was I bought a TiVo and said, hey, I put all your season passes for your favorite shows on the over-the-air TiVo. And then I, started using the Roku, and I started using Hulu. Like, oh, you want to catch up on Empire? We could totally do that on Hulu, even though we didn't DVR it. Until finally she realized, she's like, I'm just not watching it.
Yeah.
Not TV anymore.
So, okay. If you want to cut the cord, all you need to do is 6 years ago, start a show with Brian Brushwood about cutting the cord and secretly build up this awesome padded room where you realize that you never needed the cable to begin with.
Sure. Well, yes. One other step is to work at CNET, have an unnamed network want you to do a pilot segment for one of their shows involving cutting the cord before it's even possible, which makes you go buy a Slingbox and a Roku Netflix player that you then keep and get sucked into the whole cord cutting thing, so that when you and Brian start a show, you've already been doing that. Actually, to get that, though, you're going to need to have worked at Tech TV.
Well, but in order to get at Tech TV, you really should have been, building this robust backstory of stories when you lived in Austin.
Yeah.
You need to go work at Half Price Books in Austin, Texas, and we need to look forward to the primary target.
All right. I gotta give some of you, not all of you, but I give some of you a little setup of why we're going to be talking about a lot of investment numbers and earnings, because I know most of you don't care about that stuff. You just want to watch the stuff you want to watch. But if you want more internet choices, if you want more things like HBO now, pay TV, the pay TV industry, the cable and the satellite companies need to see you as worth pursuing instead of staying in their entrenched model, which they think you'll just come back to, right? And to see you as worth pursuing, they have to believe that that entrenched model is no longer 100% secure. So we check in on these things from time to time. Last week, big thing happened on the stock market. Investors sold off a lot of big media companies for a total of a drop in $50 billion in stock value, enough to get the notice of places like the Wall Street Journal. Part of it had to do with a chart from the analyst company MoffettNathanson showing the decline of subscriber growth in pay TV is not an illusion. There has been no positive growth since Q3 2012. Pay TV companies can no longer count on steadily rising subscriber fees, and the ratings of television is going down. For June through mid-July, the top 30 cable networks were down more than 10% in viewers in prime time and more than 20% among adults 18 to 49 compared with the same period a year ago. The networks, places like Disney, Turner, and Discovery, all deny this will affect them. They're projecting no problems in subscriber fee growth. So they're starting to sound the way the cable companies were sounding a couple of years ago. Meanwhile, the content producers are fine. They're like, we don't really care if you guys survive or not because Netflix, Amazon, they're giving us tons of money. We're on top of the world. We're selling more shows than ever. Cablevision is the most recent of these companies to give some numbers. They lost 16,000 video subscribers, but added 14,000 data customers, and both of those beat expectations. They lost fewer video subscribers than they thought they would. They added more data customers, and they've also been selling Hulu and HBO Now, trying to get ahead of the curve and find some other ways to make money. Even Cablevision CEO Jim Dolan, though, thinks these things are changing slowly. Dolan suggested that it would take at least 5 years for 10% and 10 years for 30% of the market to move away from the traditional cable bundle.
Man, lots to parse here. On one track, I will say that yes, I believe all of this. We kind of had an awakening in the last couple of years, like, oh wait, the cable companies are never going to go away. They're very aware of this transition. They're putting one message forward-facing to consumers and to stockholders. That is not the message they actually believe. They're actually preparing and working out deals to transition to be content providers in a even playing field world. I was fascinated by the Hollywood Reporter article involving Cablevision, in which, this idea of 30% in 10 years, I think, is shockingly conservative. I think that is an astonishingly poor number. Think about where we were 10 years ago. 10 years ago, 2005. I had cable. You had cable. The entire planet had cable. If you got a house, you were definitely going to have cable. Cord cutting was not a movement. It was not a philosophy, a theory. And cord nevering was happening under our noses and we never even knew it. Are you telling me that 10 years from now, in the year 2025, you're going to say when you buy a house, oh yeah, make sure I've got cable? Like, who will do that?
Yeah,
I don't even know that I honestly think my parents will have cut the cord by then.
I think I'm no joke. The fact that my wife said this weekend is a bellwether for me. This is someone who has really resisted the idea of not having cable. And if she on her own has come to the realization of, I get my programming other ways, I feel like there is a landslide. And I know those are the exact words that Jim Dolan of Cablevision said. I don't think a landslide is about to happen. This strikes me like the dot-com bubble can never burst and the housing bubble can never burst. 2 years ago, when we were still doing frame rate, don't forget, the cable subscriber numbers were lowering and the cable companies were all like, oh, it's just the economy. Once the economy comes back, we'll be fine. Well, the economy has recovered. You can argue how well, but it has recovered. It hasn't gotten worse. And the numbers have kept going down. I think there's a hollowed out middle. They've been doing all of these things to kind of trick you into keeping cable, like, hey, we'll throw it in with your internet, or we'll reduce the price of your internet so much it doesn't make sense not to get cable. And they've been doing these skinny bundles for people. I think there is a hollowed out center to these numbers that is about to be crushed. Especially as more gigabit services arrive and people realize, oh, I actually can get unlimited bandwidth and I can get gigabit speeds. And really, I've been watching a lot of things on my tablet and my phone anyway. I think, and I don't know exactly how long, but I'd say within a couple of years, we're going to see a much more pronounced inflection point than we have seen up till now.
Did you? I apologize for if I missed it, but did you mention the ad stuffing report from Business Insider?
No, that is a really interesting part of this. So, like going back to those numbers where we said the top 30 cable networks were down, in response to that, all of the networks have been increasing their ad loads. Some of the networks increasing the number of ads up to 10% more than a year ago.
Yeah, which basically the reason that's significant is because that is an unsustainable practice that is oftentimes done to essentially steroid up your numbers for Wall Street.
Yeah, you juke the stats with it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, our ad revenue is great. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't want to do an end zone dance here, but
No,
I honestly feel like we are so very right that it's not fun to talk about how right we are anymore. And it's more like I find myself wanting to detach myself and say, poor guys, I don't know. We'll see where this goes. It's fascinating.
I honestly don't look at it as we're right. I look at it as I have been waiting for the industry to catch up with what we want to do and how we want to view things, which is what this whole premise of the show is about. And this tells me they're in their last stage of denial. And some of them are going towards the things that we want. We have HBO now. We have CBS All Access. We have freaking Cablevision selling Hulu. Like, they're belying themselves at the same time.
That's the funny part, right? Is once you open up the marketplace of ideas of Wall Street, and once Wall Street makes the determination that it's like, no, we see everything, and we all, as this Reddit-like hive mind, acknowledge that you are definitely dying with this model, and we will move our dollars accordingly. It's astonishing. It's astonishing to see the difference where full disclosure, we can never fully divorce ourselves from our position of guys 5 years ago who had a vague feeling like this has got to change. This can't be the way it goes. To now being the guys, who were so right that, $50 billion of rightness. Somebody wrote a check for $50 billion and said, you want to know how right you are, Brian and Tom? Watch this. And then they lit $50 billion on fire. And they said, that's how right you are, guys. And then what we said to them was, man, that was really an ineffective way to show how right we were. We wish you had proven us right by going to patreon.com/Cordkillers, where you could have joined the 2,107 patrons currently kicking in about $2,000 an episode in order to keep us loud.
Breaking news.
What?
2,108.
What?
Whoa! Welcome, new patron.
What? Holy cow. Yeah.
That just happened.
Yeah, man.
That just happened.
Look, we talk about this all the time, but holy cow, did you guys change our lives about a year and a half ago? And all of a sudden, what was a side project labor of love became the cornerstone that allowed to start two completely independent lives, on our own as broadcasters. You guys made everything wonderful, and we love you till the end of the world. Yeah,
we try to earn every single penny that you entrust us with every single week. And we can't thank you enough. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. If you're getting value out of the show, that's the place to give a little value back. Let's move on to signals intelligence.
If you insist, sir.
Well, I do, because that's what they're paying for, Brian. And you know what? The Major League Baseball Advanced Media, you've heard us talk about them. They're the folks who do HBO Now's back end. They do the Major League Baseball video back end. They do the WWE's back end. They're paying the NHL $100 million over 6 years for the rights to operate the NHL subscription products and its cable TV property.
Okay.
This is kind of a first deal for MLB-AM, and it's all part of wanting to spin out from MLB. In fact, they're going to hire bankers later this week, it's expected, to start marketing to investors with the intention of becoming BAMTech, a company independent of Major League Baseball, by sometime at the end of the year.
Okay. So here's the thing. 20 years ago, the magic industry was abuzz with one particular magician who had a reported $10 million deal. The numbers are almost certainly wrong. It doesn't matter. Then only like 10 years later do I find out that $10 million deal was a $10 million loan the magician took out in order to rent his own house and hopefully fill that room up with enough people that he would be able to pay back the $10 million. And all of a sudden you realize that everything was backwards from what you thought. I honestly missed it on this story. When you sent this over, I was like, okay, whatever. MLB AM wants to do a deal. That makes sense. I did not realize that MLB AM was the one paying that money. I didn't.
This is the
I
first
utterly
time
missed that
they've ever said, "Oh, you know what? It's a riskier proposition, but I think we can make even more money if we sell the ads and we just run the whole thing for you." NHL and NHL, which had been paying New Lion to do that, said, "Wait. So instead of paying New Lion, you'll pay us? Sure. Sounds like a great deal."
Well, okay. Here's I can't decide which is more amazing, what we're looking at or the fact that, 4 years from now, NHL will very likely say, you know what, it's probably worth it for us to just, not get all of your free money and instead figure out a way for us to do this ourselves and sell our own ads on it.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how well they do it. And I think what it comes down to is the NHL saying, wow, Major League Baseball does a lot better at this than we do. So if we can get money from them, because there's a revenue share part of this too. So not even just $100 million, but ad share, it's probably still worth it. It's probably still worth it not to take it back into house and pay MLB-AM to do it. Whereas somebody like HBO Now, they're like, we don't need to sell ads. We'll just pay you to serve that. That's all we need you to do.
What do you suppose the advantage has been? Is it a technical advantage because they've been doing it longer? Is it a licensing advantage because they've worked out more relationships with partners who buy ads? What is it that do you think started this snowball that's getting bigger and bigger for MLB-AM?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a licensing arrangement. Licensing implies acquiring the content, but I know what you're saying. Is it like just knowing
or I guess just
the
content,
a relationship management advantage, which it might be. It might be because they do sell their own stuff. I don't know. I wish I knew that magic sauce so I could go sell myself as an expert to other companies to say, here's how they do it. But Major League Baseball Advanced Media from the beginning has just been killing it. They've got a good group of people there. And then probably over time, because they were doing this in the early 2000s, they were starting to do this. They probably have the benefit of that experience now, which just gives them extra momentum.
Yeah, I gotta feel like it boils down to they have their relationships. They know they can pick up the phone. They have the people who can pick up the phone to make the calls to make the deals, and that at the end of the day is all that really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. But they were doing it great when no one had ever done this before.
So real quick, just so I wrap my mind around this, I'm gonna guess, per their announcement, they want to become what, BAMNet, they said, or something?
Yeah, they're gonna rename it BAMTech once they've spun it out. So it's no longer owned by MLB.
This is the kind of thing where, again, and we talked about this in the pre-show, I'm a little bit obsessed with the psyche of Reddit. I can see 20 years from now, today I learned, did you know that BAMNet used to be a baseball network?
BAMTech.
Or BAMTech, whatever. Yeah. But the point is...
That's me correcting you on Reddit.
Yo, that's you. Yeah. This is my disapproval look emoji.
I think you're right. I think the prospects are only good. NHL, by the way, side note to this, gets 10% of the future BAMTech once it's spun out. So they're gonna get a little piece of the action from everybody else as well. It's a really interesting thing, and I don't think we've talked enough, and I don't think we need to, about how this impacts all of this other sports-related drama in the pay TV industry, because this is all happening outside of that. This is MLB and NHL saying, with the content we've been able to keep away from the pay TV industry, we can do all this. Imagine what happens when those relationships expire and they're up for renewal, and we just keep all of our content and sell it ourselves.
Dude, 100%. All right, look, I think this is as far into the sports waters as I've ever walked. I feel like it's time for us to gear up. I mean, assuming that's cool with you. I hope that doesn't freak you out. I just want to gear up a little bit. Take our relationship to the next.
Look, man. Look, I'm not going to get in your way. You want to gear up? I mean, I was going to talk a lot more about Disney, and I was going to go into some like deep financials, but fine, let's gear up. Xbox One will get a DVR feature, according to an announcement made by Phil Spencer at Gamescom, coming in 2016. So there's a whole update to Xbox One that's going to happen with the dashboard and the Windows 10ization. But the key for you cord cutters is you get a DVR feature, that thing that Brian kept haranguing us like, why can't they do a DVR? You're going to get it. You can schedule recordings from the One Guide as long as you're running over the air. It will only work with over the air, which means you have to have a digital TV tuner and you have to have an external hard drive because they don't want the game part of the Xbox console conflicting with the DVR part. They want it to be on separate DVRs or separate hard drives. But once that's going, you can schedule recordings from your mobile device. You can download shows and play them on Windows 10 devices. And it becomes a pretty handy DVR for your over-the-air signal.
Yeah, I got to tell you, like, you know, you look at the headline and you're like, you have to buy more crap in addition to the tuner or whatever, but I'm actually cool with that. I actually think that, you know, as somebody who, you know, I've got a laptop that I have two separate partitions. One, you know, that I use when I'm on the road for whatever business stuff, and a completely separate partition that is dedicated only to running the show. Because when the show runs, you know, everything, I can't have anything updating. I can't. It's got to do its one dumb thing and do it right on time. So I'm actually cool with that. Here's the question that's fascinating to me is how does Microsoft, from a marketing perspective, justifiably loop back to the subject of, by the way, the Xbox One is a fantastic, you know, content center for your living room, given the fact that they ate, you know, a 5,000-pound bag of turds for having brought that up at E3 to begin with. How do they come back? How do they sell this advancement? And it is an advancement. It's a wonderful advancement. And if you're a cord cutter, it's a great way to massage your way into, you know, not having cable at all. How do you sell that?
Who cares? Really, seriously. Like, all the people watching Cordkillers want to do cord cutting. So they can give an F if this hurts the gaming image of Xbox. And frankly, I think that whole thing's been overblown anyway. It was a big deal at the time that Don Matrick made those mistakes. But since then, people have realized, oh, guess what? You know, PS4 has a lot of good games, and so does the Xbox. And I think we're far enough into the console cycle now that I didn't see anybody react negatively to them announcing this. And this was meant for cord cutters. Well, and if you're a cord cutter, that's all you care about is like, oh, okay, so I've got this DVR update. That's another reason for me to either A, keep my Xbox One, or B, acquire an Xbox One when I'm ready to buy a console.
That's actually a pretty good point. So essentially what you're saying is they don't. Their answer is they don't sell it to anyone. They allow the circles that are already, you know, attracted to this kind of space to naturally gravitate there.
Yeah, because I mean, I'll be honest, this was a side note in their Gamescom announcement. If you're into the gaming side of this, go listen to Patrick Beja on Pixels, and you'll get a great explanation of everything that happened at Gamescom. But this side note is the one piece of that announcement that is important to the cord cutters, and I think it was appropriately delivered. They're like, look, we're not going to be the big entertainment box. We mentioned that on last week's show. But we're going to be a DVR if you're over the air. And I think that's incredibly smart because it's low overhead, right? It's like, we're not going to get in the way of your gaming experience. We're not going to touch that.
Especially and this is what's fascinating is seeing where we are now. And with this announcement makes me wonder what life was like inside of the Microsoft bubble during awaiting the Supreme Court decision regarding Aereo, right? Because in a world where Aereo is a viable and popular solution for that, all of a sudden this doesn't sound like the best solution. But in a place where there's now a void, where consumers seem to like what Aereo was going for, and now all of a sudden it's like, hey, did you like Aereo? Well, you can do that. It's called a have a tuner in your own DVR. And by the way, you already have them. They're called an Xbox. Just, give me $100 and we'll fix this for you.
I mean, I guess the idea is that if you can use the tuner, you don't need Aereo. But if you can use Aereo, it's because you can't use the tuner.
Again, you've got logic brain on, Tom. I'm thinking marketing brain.
I was going to finish that thought by saying I can definitely imagine Bob being asked, hey, while we're waiting for this court decision, I need you to make a deck on how we approach Aereo to become a favored partner and get their app into the Xbox One. Also need a deck on how to spin the Halpage tuner that we're going to be co-marketing if Aereo loses. And so I need 2 decks from you, Bob. Can you have that on my desk by tomorrow morning? Thanks.
And what does Bob say?
Bob says, sure. You know what, though? I got to run because they've got a great sale at Scam Stuff, and I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, dude, do you know what he said? He said, forget you guys. I'm going to go become Tony freaking Stark. I'm going to shoot fireballs from my palm like I'm some kind of freaking... okay, real quick, for full disclosure, if you head on over to scamstuff.com, you'll see right there on the front page, we have an amazing magical device called Pyro. It's got a remote that you click, and you shoot freaking fireballs from your palm. It is amazing. It's a blast. It's shocking and fun. It also is almost literally the joke of the from Arrested Development, where if it doesn't go off, you're like, yeah, but still, where did the lighter fluid come from? It's that, only it works. It's so much fun, and we had so much fun messing with it. I highly recommend it. It's a high-end enthusiast thing. Look at the joy on my voice. I don't know if you can cut over to it there, or look at the joy on my face when I am surprised by the first shot that it goes. You can wear it on the top of your wrist or the bottom of the wrist. It uses an old-style musket setup where it's like you have to pack in flash cotton and a little wad of flash paper, and then and with your other hand you fire it. It's amazing. You guys are gonna dig it. Scam Stuff, of course, is a way you can support the show. Tom writes books and I sell awesome magic gear, and that's another way you can make things happen for us.
You can also hang around and listen to the front lines. It'll make you smarter.
I mean, it'll make you smarter, but
Frontlines!
But Netflix ordered a series called 3% produced by Brazilian studio Boutique Films and directed by Cesar Chalon, City of God. I hope I said that right. Everyone has one chance to jump from poverty to decadence, but only 3% of applicants succeed. It's Netflix's first entirely Brazilian series, and if I'm not mistaken, Tom, it sounds an awful lot like our actual capitalist system.
Well, you get more than one chance in our system, as far as I can tell. In this one, you got a 97% chance of failing, which may or may not be true in our current system. Once you've tried it, you're done. This is really interesting. Netflix is not resting on their laurels with like, hey, we had House of Cards. It was a hit. Oh, look, Orange is the New Black turned out to be okay. Like, they are leveraging their international presence here, not only with this one, but don't forget Marseille, which is co-produced out of France, Narcos, Club de Cuervos, all international collaborations. So they're trying to be even more than any network has been, because most networks have been regional.
Yeah, dude. Plus, I love the fact that we are rapidly entering a post-lingual universe where all of us are accustomed to watching beautiful art created in a different language.
Oh, thank good. I thought you meant we'd all get our tongues cut out. The Blu-ray Disc Association announced it will start licensing Ultra HD Blu-ray technology in time for the 2015 holiday season. It's a 4K standard, so you get 3840 by 2160 video, as well as HDR and HFR, high frame rate.
Yeah, no, I know it was difficult to say that phrase.
And a digital bridge feature that allows digital copies to be stored on authorized drives.
Dude, I say this is good. I know the cartoon version of Brian would roll his eyes at this, but I think that I keep in mind, I have not seen HDR, but everything I've heard about it has been that it is a visually extraordinary technology that really pops, that brings to mind what it was like to watch your first, high definition television. If that's the case, then I say good.
Yeah, it's the classic, like, here's the new format. We've got the new TVs this holiday season. Upgrade your equipment, buy some new players, new TVs, and enjoy these HDR and 4K movies. I just don't know. I'll be curious. Let me say that. I'm not even skeptical. I'm curious to see what the uptake is.
I think we could definitely agree that that HDR has a bigger chance of becoming a worldwide hit than 3D did. When we first started frame rate, everything was 3D crazy. Hey man, HBO now has added support for Chromecast to its Android and iOS devices. The Travel Channel, Food Network, and Pokemon TV apps also added Chromecast support. That's huge, man. That's really good. I'm sad that I don't use my Chromecast nearly as much as I started off doing it. It's funny to me that the Chromecast can do everything right, and at the end of the day, I'll just let my kids watch on iPads because that's easier, because there's one whole button to press. And I know I'm a terrible person for saying that, but that seems to be the reality.
Well, you need a new TV, so then you could only have the one button to press, and it would turn on your TV, put it on the right input, and start playing HBO.
Okay,
now.
I don't know if you're joking or not, but that sounds like something I would definitely blow $1,000 on.
I am not joking. If you have the right TV with the right HDMI port, it does that.
Dude, well then done. I'm going to blow. All you suckers out there giving us Patreon money, I'm going to blow it all on a new TV.
Woo! I mean, can they really criticize you for that? It's to help the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's work-related, sweetheart.
Fox News held and broadcast debates among selected Republican U.S. presidential candidates last week. Fox News streamed the debate online, but you had to log in with your cable credentials. However, Sky News, which is a UK network, but owned by the same company that owns Fox News, was streaming the debate on YouTube worldwide without requiring a login. At least they were, until a YouTube Content ID claim appeared against Sky News' stream, saying it had originated from Fox News, blocking it. Sky News then started a new stream at a new URL, and that one apparently stayed up.
Yeah, man. Dude, it's so awesome to be in this weird mushy middle phase because, like, I don't have cable. I just went online and typed in Fox News debate. I honestly could not tell you, if my life depended on it, what stream I was watching, but it was on YouTube, and it was a few seconds behind the authentic feed, and it was amazing how easy it is. I mean, they got to give up on trying to shut this stuff down, right? I mean, especially for
if something
stuff.
is news.
Yeah, right?
This is public interest. You should make this available to everyone because people will then go, oh, I really liked that Fox News cast. I'm going to watch more of this Fox News. But anyway, it's a public service. It should have been streamed free. And my guess is that none of this was done intentionally. Fox News probably just doesn't have the apparatus to stream it for free. And we're like, well, the way we do things, you have to log in for a cable. So I guess we'll just leave it that way.
Yeah.
And I bet, knowing YouTube's Content ID, which has done this to myself, it probably just automatically blocked the Sky News thing because it looked at Fox News and was like, oh, well, that one has the same thing, and that one started first, so block that one. And then they probably had to get it resolved.
Yeah. Agreed with all of that. But I'm sorry. If I sound distracted, it's because I'm mourning. I'm mourning for the death of Boxy. R.I.P. Boxy. You're going to pour one out? I'm going to pour one down my throat for Boxy. Samsung, which bought Boxy 2 years ago, canceled the group's next generation remote control project and has laid off much of the team. The project, called PX for Perfect Experience, would have been a guide to all programming available on a tablet-like device. Wow. It's so funny to put it in perspective. Boxy was just on its rise as we launched Scam School back in 2008, and of course, Boxy was largely known as the as a very easy way to watch pirated material. And of course, being bought by a legitimate corporation brought them legitimacy, but also brought them the entanglements that come with that. So it's been fascinating.
I don't ever think of them as a place to watch pirated material, although I know a lot of people used it for that.
Because I did at the time
to do so many other things with it. The cool thing about Boxy Box to me was that it took that media tank thing, that popcorn streaming
time,
box
yeah.
thing, and it said, hey, let's actually not just be resting our laurels on piracy, but put Netflix on here and put everything on here. And at a time that seems far away now, when not all the boxes had all the major streaming apps on it, it did.
Yeah. No, 100%. You are correct.
Two quick notes before we're done with Frontlines. PlayStation Vue TV service now available in the Dallas and Miami areas. And Netflix will launch in Japan on September 2nd.
Dude, I think that PlayStation Vue is going to be our sleeper cell. I think that it's not making gigantic headlines. I mean, we've talked about it here on the show, but I use
it, but I never use it. That's the problem with it.
Exactly, right?
It's too expensive for what you get.
I think that PlayStation Vue and Sling TV are going to quietly take over the universe in the next 2 years. It's going to be amazing. No?
I think both of them are going to fail.
Really?
Yes. And I don't want them to. That is not a wish.
Yeah, no, of course.
That's my analyst expectation. PlayStation Vue will just prove too expensive. Barring a change, either Sony acquires something and is able to bring the price down, but right now you can't get any of the ABC networks on it. And yet it is more expensive than DirecTV for me right now, since I got rid of HBO. At the same time, Sling TV I think is amazing, but not enough people are cottoning to it for whatever reason. It's got 165,000 subscribers, which is nothing to sneeze at. In fact, it's bolstering Dish's numbers, but it just doesn't seem to capture people. They don't rave about it. I think it's just a little too buggy in a few places for people to love it.
And keep in mind also that it's only live viewing. You don't get back catalog. You don't get DVR
you get
functionality.
Some back catalog, but it's confusing, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, to be honest, I subscribed to Sling TV because I could do it in 5 minutes, and it shut my kid up about wanting to watch Disney Channel. It was the salve that made possible cutting the cord for a second time. So, yes, there's a lot. I don't personally use it myself, but I know it's good enough. It has the partnerships that are good enough to keep my kids quiet.
I think the problem is it's just a little too hard to use for what it is good for. Because it is good for what you said, which makes it easier to use. But if it's somebody who's like, I just want to watch sports, I don't even really care what, or I just want to watch Home and Garden or Food Network, I don't really care what's on, there's too many steps to get into it. When you want to do that, you just want to turn on the TV.
Yeah, and again, this is a post-millennial generation thing. Like for my kid, she already, when we had cable, she never watched cable on the television. She used our cable authentication to access the Disney app on her phone. So to her, it's like, well, press this other app instead of that app, and it's the same thing.
But she won't be paying for things for a while. I'm not sure Sling can survive long enough to get to that generation having disposable income to support it.
I wouldn't doubt it. Shall we go?
We'll see.
Under surveillance?
Let's see what's under surveillance, because there's stuff.
It's all about location.
I guessed what you were going to say.
Under surveillance.
HBO released a teaser for the Westworld series coming in 2016 now. It has been delayed. The TV series will be the same story as the 1973 film, but from the point of view of the robots this time, written and directed by Jonathan Nolan.
That's Christopher Nolan's brother, right? The same guy who worked on all the Batman films and all the other Nolan projects.
He wrote the Interstellar.
Yeah. Dude, I liked Interstellar. It was fascinating. Before the show, I talked to Bryce and I was like, "Are you familiar with what Westworld is about?" And before he said anything, I was like, because it was Michael Crichton's directorial debut back in the 70s. Michael Crichton was hot stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I think it was about a theme park where everything goes wrong." And to which I replied, "Yeah, like all of Michael Crichton's other works. They're all theme parks where everything goes wrong." I could not be more excited for this. I think that's wonderful. I think this is a good twist on it. I think it's an important twist that will allow it to spend a lot of time in that. I think it's something that we could take a while to digest. That if you can write into this stories about robots actually caring about affairs that they're having in this crazy Westworld land, I think that would be fascinating.
Netflix will have a new Mr. Peabody show, Mr. Peabody and Sherman show, with Chris Parnell as the voice of Mr. Peabody. Mr. Peabody and Sherman will be hosting a late-night comedy show broadcast from their apartment in Manhattan, but will also go on time-traveling adventures. 13 episodes coming October 9th.
I'm excited enough about this. Talk to me about this live thing. Are they going to do like the live puppeteering thing?
No, it's not live. It's just animated.
Oh,
and
never mind.
it's
Okay, well then
hosting
forget it.
a late night comedy show broadcast live from their apartment in Manhattan is the premise of the show that you are watching on demand whenever you want.
Got it. Never mind. Forget I said anything.
Here, this one will excite you. Sony announced the Dark Tower movie coming January 13th, 2017. Hold that thought. They also announced Jumanji arrives December 25th, 2016. New live-action Spider-Man July 28th, 2017. Animated Spider-Man coming July 20th, 2018. And Ghostbusters has been moved up to July 15th next year.
Tom, look, there are certain properties that are so deeply emotionally important to me that I can't speak about them objectively or even pretend to be objective about it. I drug you into the black hole of the Dark Tower. You've come out the other side. Let me just say that I'm really bummed that this announcement comes from Sony on the heels of the disastrous launch of the Fantastic Four movie, and I'm just weirdly...
Which was Fox, right?
Oh shoot, no. Oh, then I'm happy. Then I totally got mixed up. You're right. You are right. Everything's great, and we're playing the Cordkillers theme in the background. That's amazing.
What have you been watching?
Dude, I've watched so much stuff this week. Oh wait, real quick, Dark Tower. Where's your excite vibe on it?
Oh, I was only disappointed that they picked January because they usually pick January when they don't believe in a movie. But it was pointed out to me by many people who are also fans of the Dark Tower, Gene Josephson, DTNS producer, that there is a lot of competition in those other areas. And maybe this is a smart move because they know that the people who love Dark Tower will go see it no matter when they schedule it.
Dude, I'm so worried. I'm so worried about it being live action. I would rather see it as an animated movie on Fox or animated TV series. Hey, man, but I've watched a ton of stuff this week, especially with my daughter. There comes a special time when your daughter turns, like she's 11, about to turn 12, when all of a sudden there flowers within her the awareness that there's an amazing science fiction animated fantasy show called Star Wars. And she decides, those fateful moments, she turns to you and says, Dad, would you watch Star Wars with me? And then your 40-year-old heart melts and you cuddle up with your daughter and you watch the despecialized editions because you're a real goddamn American and you do it right. And that's what we did.
Wait, you say despecialized. Does that mean the DVD copies of the original prints or some modified version of the special editions that took out the extra content?
Dude, the latter.
Okay.
The latter. In fact, it's interesting if you watch the scenes because they take the higher resolution stuff from all of the Blu-ray content and then they just cut out all of the, the voodoo hokum that got added. But meanwhile, like for example, the Sarlacc pit, the only existing footage of that is from the Laserdisc. So what you could kind of tell that they cut and pasted the Sarlacc stuff from the Laserdisc on there, so it's lower resolution inside. It's like the TARDIS, only for resolution. It's lower res on the inside. Dude, it was great. It was great. And it led us into this whole Star Wars rabbit hole. We ended up watching Rebels. I watched 6 episodes of Rebels. We'll talk about that in spoiler in time. And then, of course, I've also, we'll also talk about Sneaky Pete. Spoiler alert. I loved it. And I watched the first 2 episodes of Wet Hot American Summer, and I watched some of Mr. Robot, but I don't feel like we should talk about it because I only got halfway through the episode 5, and I want to get all caught up at once.
Sneaky Pete, by the way, if people don't realize, Amazon pilot produced by Bryan Cranston that is up for vote, and Wet Hot American Summer, obviously the Netflix series. I watched 1 episode of Wet Hot American Summer, and man, did I want to like it more than I did. And that's not to say I hated it, but it just isn't my kind of series, I don't think.
Are you under the umbrella of nostalgia for Wet Hot American Summer?
I never saw the movie, right?
Neither did I.
That's a big disadvantage.
But here's the funny part is I did teach at a camp for 2 summers. So in that
never
regard,
went to camp. Don't really like camp.
I don't blame you, but Bonnie and I both taught at the same camp, and I think that really colored things for us. And I enjoyed it a lot. There's in the second episode. Also, the second episode is genuinely funnier than the first. Spoiler alert here. There's a clearly like 14-year-old girl who has her coming of age moment, and she runs to the bathroom and they hand a tampon over, and when she emerges, she's clearly a 44-year-old hilarious actress, and they say, "Oh, you've become a woman." Like there's this whole like wink and a nod to the fact that everybody is 10 years older, and they're doing a prequel to it.
I finished up BoJack Horseman, episodes 10 through 12 of the season 2. Not much to say except I liked it. I really enjoyed the whole thing. I've been continuing to watch Clone Wars. I'm a week behind still on Mr. Robot. Watched Sneaky Pete myself. We'll talk about The Shield on Spoiler in Time and True Detective on Spoiler in Time. I watched the last episode of The Daily Show hosted by Jon Stewart. Obviously not the last episode of The Daily Show. They've got a new host coming in. But it made me realize that I had not watched The Daily Show, even on demand, in a long time, and that earlier this year, I had watched the last episode of The Late Show with David Letterman to see David Letterman's last show, and it felt like a goodbye tour for old-style television. Like, oh, yes, I used to sit down and watch these things at the appointed time every night. Even Daily Show I was DVRing, but I would watch it every night. I just don't do that anymore. And it felt like, this is me reliving those old days when I used to watch things at particular times instead of just sitting down and seeing what was in my queue.
Yeah, man. I got to tell you, I don't think I've watched. I think it might be 6 years since I've watched a full episode at its appointed time on television. I think that all the segments I've watched have just been, carved out and posted on YouTube or whatever. That's fascinating, man. Yeah,
it was interesting. And I watched Rick and Morty episode 3 this morning. Actually,
real quick. Let's. I don't know that we need to, go through the plot of it on Spoiler in Time, but fair to say it's good and people should watch it.
It was amazing. What a premise, handled cleverly in ways that I expected and wanted, and was satisfied in ways I didn't expect and wanted, even though I didn't know it.
Did you catch the very, very specific and clear nod to Community in there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Spoiler alert, there's this one moment where the conceit of the episode is that he's...
hold on.
Oh, no?
You're going to spoil that part? No, let's talk about it on Spoiler in Time if you want to spoil that part.
All right. There's a Community reference. That's all I'll say. Fine.
All right. Bryce, what's happening on the lookout up there on your mountaintop?
So we actually talked about this show last week. Do you guys remember this? A Difficult People?
Yes, you mentioned it.
Yeah, we mentioned it was coming. The trailer had come out, I think.
Right. The first 2 episodes are on Hulu now. This thing is really funny, you guys.
Yeah?
Really?
It's really funny. It's Julie Klausner and Billy Eichner who play comedians / fledgling creatives, right?
AKA themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
She writes recaps for some online blog. He is a waiter, and they're both trying to be comedians. And it's so I'm not in love with Seinfeld, but tell me if this is a good assessment. Is that it's kind of bad people putting themselves in awkward situations.
Yeah, no, that was Seinfeld.
That sounds like Seinfeld.
And that was very edgy at the time. And if they are tapping into that, is that Martin Short?
Yes. It
wow.
is. Yeah, there are a lot of big names that it looks like
Elizabeth Banks shows up at one point too, right?
Gabourey Sidibe is a regular guest star. James Urbaniak.
Plays
the boyfriend. It's a lot of big names and it's funny. I think it's really funny. It's a little. I would say, if I had a criticism, it's a little too breakneck in jumping back and forth between the A and B plots. When they'll separate, and I think it's a little too fast on that. But otherwise, it's very funny. I actually think it's also very similar to Broad City. If you've seen that, it's another Amy Poehler executive produced show for Comedy Central about two young women who are best friends living in New York, and it's a lot of these like small, very specific stories that are happening, but with a really it's a really great tone, and I think you should give it a try. There are 2 episodes on Hulu. It looks like new episodes are going to be on Wednesdays.
Man, spoiler alert to our discussion later. My only complaint with Sneaky Pete is I've never resented the Amazon pitching process until now. Like watching that pilot and realizing there was not a full season waiting for me after it really upset me. And now that's twice, or I guess 3 times. It was Mad Dogs, it was Man in the High Castle, and now Sneaky Pete. I'm kind of like, now I'm like, can you guys just do this all internally and not make me a lab rat and just get straight to having full seasons of this stuff for me?
Interesting. I actually like the sample, but I definitely feel that frustration when I like one of like not wanting to have to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we
Let's
check
get
out
some dispatches
from the front?
Bryce, if you look, I think they're at the front.
Yeah.
Oh, here in
yeah.
the front.
They're right here. I'm sorry, they were in front of you. I should have mentioned that.
Here you go, Tom.
Hey, Kyle from Jacksonville says, Tom and Brian, my 7-year-old daughter is obsessed with YouTube. I trust her well enough to watch videos on my YouTube account because the YouTube Kids seems to be geared for too young an audience for her. My question is, why does my 7-year-old see Budweiser and other adult-themed ads in front of these videos? Is it because YouTube assumes I am watching the video because I am logged in? This seems like a short-sighted. This seems short-sighted of YouTube with all their data. They should be able to recognize that those videos are geared for kids and should only show kid-appropriate ads. I wish Google would supply more customization for letting children use YouTube other than kids, which seems for very young children, or all out using your adult account with ads.
Man, that kind of sophistication, I think, is easily 5 to 7 years out, where you could be logged in as one person, but have an AI essentially evaluate your viewing habits and recognize, like, okay, well, he says it's Brian, but it's clearly Brian's daughter watching these cat videos. Let me make sure it's relevant ads that get put on there. I think we're a ways off from that, and I'm just thrilled. I mean, the answer is yes. It's sending you bud ads because it thinks it's you because you're logged in as you, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak to whether YouTube Kids is too kiddie for a 7-year-old or not. But I know that is YouTube's answer. And my wife works at YouTube, but that is YouTube's answer is, if you want it tailored for kids, this is family friendly. They don't say it's meant to be kitty. It sounds like you want to let your 7-year-old watch things that maybe YouTube doesn't think are family friendly, which is fine. But if you're logged in as you, it thinks you're you. And if you were not you, but somebody without a child that wanted to watch some kind of kiddie type content and a Budweiser ad showed up, you'd be fine with that. You wouldn't want ads for kids' toys if you don't have kids. So it's just got to go on the data it has. My recommendation would be create an account for your daughter.
Yeah.
And log her into that. And then it will start to see, this is the kind of person viewing here, and I can tailor these ads appropriately. And of course, the other option would be eventually to get a subscription service where you can just turn the ads off.
We've got an email that starts off, hello.
I'm not a father though, Brian. Does that all sound fair?
Oh, no, 100%. I mean, okay. It's like I am lazy, like Kyle is, in that I let my kids use my stuff. He does it because he believes and trusts in his kids. I do it because I'm too lazy to pivot. And also, I don't care if they see Budweiser ads. That's the world that we live in. But again, that's not the question. The real question is, hello, Tom, Brian, and Bryce. It's been great to listen to the talk about whether or not to buy physical media or invest in digital media and some of the comments from other Cordkillers. Last year, my brother made some terrible, stupid life choices and had to tighten his budget. One of the first bills to go was the internet and TV, since he had heavily invested in digital content like Steam games and TV movies from Amazon. All of that was no use to him. Yes, he could have downloaded the Amazon files and saved them or put them on Steam on offline mode, but that would only work for so long. Watching this happen has made me stick with physical media in all aspects. You never know what's going to happen in life, and I want to be sure that if I make some dumb choices, I'm not stuck watching the only single channel that comes into my antenna. Thanks for the great show, Dominic. I understand the logic of it. I just suspect 5 years from now that's going to look like a ridiculous thing to be afraid of.
And I take a little issue with him, like, well, I know we could download the stuff, but that will only work for so long. No, if you're I can't guarantee this with all services, but with most of these services, if you legally purchase an Amazon video and download it to a hard drive, it will continue to play on that medium. And I know that works for iTunes, and I know that works for Vudu. Now, will there be a time at some point where you'll transfer it to a different drive and it will want to call home and find out if it's valid? Yes. That's for sure a possibility. So he's partly right there, but the solution would have been like to download those all while you still have the internet, and then even when you don't have the internet anymore, you can still watch them.
Well, what's interesting is I thought for sure he kind of went a different direction than I expected, because he said he acted like the difficult thing was, well, now he doesn't have internet and now he can't access his content. I would imagine that if you're in that kind of dire financial straits, you're more concerned about what you can get at a garage sale for a bunch of Blu-ray DVDs, because you can sell those easily, but you can't, whereas, transferring something from your Steam account would be virtually impossible.
That's perfectly legitimate. That's a good argument. But if it sounded to me from reading this that the big holdup was like, hey, if I ever buy anything on the internet and I don't have the internet anymore, I can't watch it anymore, and that's just not true.
Right. And it's only going to get less true going forward.
Finally, Rob Martins has a tip. He says, quick money saving tip: if you pay for Showtime and or HBO through Apple, buy $100 gift cards at a place like Costco or Sam's Club for $80. $100 gift card for $80. Load those up on the iTunes store, saves you 20%. Over a year, if you subscribe to both, you'd save about $60. Enough to buy some other shows or support Cordkillers on Patreon. Rob wrote that. That's not my own thing.
This is brilliant, because if you're not familiar with it, gift cards, 50% of them actually get redeemed at any point. So you essentially, all those people who are buying gift cards but not spending them are subsidizing you and your ability to buy them at a discount and make money on it. I think it's great. Smart.
Hey, everybody. If you thought we were going to have Dan Benjamin on the show, he was scheduled, but then we had a little scheduling snafu on our part. So we're rescheduling him for a future appearance, and we'd look forward to having him on as well. But that's it for this episode. Brian Brushwood. Our website is cordkillers.com. He's speechless. The episode was so good. He's speechless.
No, I didn't know. I thought you were about to say something. I was giving you the dance floor.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you in your dreams.
I'll see you in my dreams. Hold you in my dreams. Someone took you out of my arms, but still I'll feel the thrill of your charms. Lips that once were mine, pretty eyes that shine, they will light my way tonight. I'll see you in my dreams. Each
Good night,
cable
everybody.
companies.
I'm putting that at the end of the episode. Fuck you if you think I'm not going to put that at the end of the episode.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.